Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Welcome, my child, to the eternal kingdom of light. Come, all who seek peace and light, enter into my eternal kingdom.
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there, pushing the word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shah, push me to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today, is dealing with the great replacement from on high. All right, because we're in the time where the Lord is getting ready to replace his wicked, backwards, perverse kingdom with a righteous kingdom. Okay, now Esau, Edom, in his mind, within his agenda, he's thinking that he's going to replace his old world, with a new world. You see, this nigga think he's going to replace this old wicked world system with even a more wicked, new digital system. Okay, this is the mind of Esau, Edom. Okay, so this devil in his mind, as he thinks that he's going to get ready to transition into his new world order, well, the Most High is going to transition a righteous world order, that's going to destroy and triumph over everything that the devil is trying to establish, everything he has established, and everything that he's trying to establish, well, it's going to be triumph, by a righteous world order, of Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right, thus said the Lord. So now when you get into the scriptures, we're given signs, that show that we're in the time where the Lord is getting ready to transition from the kingdom of wickedness to a kingdom of righteousness. This is Matthew 16:1. It says, one day the Pharisees and Sadducees, this is an NLT, one day the Pharisees and Sadducees came to test Yahushua, demanding that he should show them a miraculous sign from heaven to prove his authority. He replied, the saying, red sky at night means fair weather, means fair weather tomorrow, red sky in the morning means foul weather all day. You see, so he's making an analogy of something carnal, which is reading the weather based on the appearance of the sky. Okay, so he's saying you know how to interpret the weather signs in the sky, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the times. Okay, so he responds, because they wanted something miraculous. Okay, Jake, they want a hologram. They want Jake want you to just conjure up a hologram, and show them, what's going to happen. Okay, well here it is. You have all these signs. Okay, that's letting our people know what time we in. Okay, according to the scriptures, so they can recognize carnal things. Okay, they have awareness when it comes to carnal things, but when it comes to spiritual things, our people don't have any awareness, man. They don't know, they're not aware of the times that we're in, and we're being given clear times. So like we've been given clear signs that let us know exactly where we at. All right, and we're right at the time of the collapse of the kingdom of Esau and the ushering in of the kingdom of Yahushua. Okay, which is the kingdom of Israel and righteousness, man. Okay, verse 4 says, only an evil adulterous generation would demand a miraculous sign, but the only sign I will give them is the sign of the prophet Jonah. That then Yahushua left them and went away. Okay, so the ministry of the prophets is a sign within itself. The fact that the Lord has raised up so many prophets in these latter days, that's a sign within itself. And the expound on the prophecies. Okay, so the Lord is making it very clear and evident and plain of what times we in through the ministry of the prophets. Okay, but a faithless generation, they seek out the miraculous, just overwhelming sign. When the signs are all around us, man, look at what happened in the earth. Okay, that's why you can go from. Let's go from there. Let's get this in Matthew as well. Another analogy, dealing with the times. All right, Matthew 24. Okay, and this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 32. It said, now learn the lesson from the fig tree. When his branches bud and his leaves begin to sprout, you know that summer is not. Going back into what signs. Okay, well, we're seeing in these prophecies beginning to bud and sprout in the earth. Okay, verse 33, in the same way, when you see all these things, you can know his return is very near, right at the door. And we're right at the door. The moves that we're seeing being made, letting us know the time of the second coming of Yahushua is near. Okay, we're seeing prophecy sprout. Okay, prophecy begin to bud in the earth. Okay, according to what the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You see, and the ministry of the prophets is going in and expounding on these signs. Okay, filtering through the scriptures, and measuring where we at. All right, and that's why you go here to I probably should have got that in the GNT. Let's see. Get that in the GNT box. Yeah. I want to get that in the GNT. Go to 2nd Ezra 9. Okay, so let's pull this up in the GNT and we'll read down. Okay, because 2nd Ezra 9 goes into, all right, the details of what will be going on. Okay, in these latter days. Okay, so let's go here. So let's go into the book of it's the book of 2nd Ezra. All right, chapter 9. Let's start at verse 1. Okay. It's the book of Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. He answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when the Most High will bring judgment, all right, on the world he has created. Okay? So we're here to consider, and measure the time diligently, all right, by looking out and seeing what's going on. And the scriptures say we're watching. So we're watching for signs that we've been warned about in the scriptures. We're watching for what the things. That's why we're not here just randomly watching, okay, news and the happenings. We're not randomly watching things. We're watching things specifically dealing with the signs that we was given to watch for, man. The Lord has given us a criteria. You know, He's given us He's given us the I guess like a curriculum. You know, lack of better words. Okay, of what to watch for. Okay, so it says it says you will know that the time has come when the Most High has, all right, when the Most High God will bring judgment on the world He has created. And the Lord is going to bring judgment. We know, looking at the time, we know the Lord is going to bring judgment, man. He's going to bring that hammer. Okay, He's going to come down with that hammer, man. Okay, the Lord is going to send a major correction in the earth. The earth needs to be corrected. Okay, and the Lord's going to come with that correction, which is righteous judgment, man, because the earth is out of pocket under Esau Edom, man. Okay, so it says there will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. When you see these things happening, all right, you will know that they are what the Most High has spoken about since the beginning of creation, man. And we seeing these things manifest in the earth, man. These things are happening on a frequent basis, man. Okay, Esau's confused. Esau, he got some things in play, but then there's certain things that you could tell you know, he's rattled. Okay, these other leaders, these people, they're rattled, man. Esau all over the place. Certain nations, you can tell certain, leaders that's not in the know, that's not in the inner circle, they're confused about certain things that's going on. Okay, unstable leaders. Okay, you got BB, all right, over there, in the state of Israel, he's a live wire. You got Trump, his unpredictable ass, man. Okay, you got people around him, these different, what you call them, these warmongers, these war hawks that's around Trump, man. So this is the recipe for, all right, the end. Okay, what we're seeing happening is a recipe for the end. We know what time we in, man. All right, and the Lord is going to do a great replacement. Okay, it said the beginning and the end of everything that happens in the world are clear. The same is true in the world above. Wonders and miracles show the beginning of events, and mighty signs show when they end. Okay, so we're seeing all these signs of what's happening. Okay, that show that the Lord is going to bring this age to the end. Okay, and bring the next age, which is the age of Israel. Okay, into fruition. You see, this is what we're seeing. We're living in a time of a great transition, and the transition has already started. Esau Edom's world is being phased out. Okay, in Esau's mind, he think he's phasing out his old world order to bring in a new. But the Most High's finna phase this nigga all the way out completely. All this shit, the old world, the piece of the new world that he's finna try to throw up, all this finna be phased out, man. Okay, so let's go, cause I got a video I want to get into. Not long, quick, because the first few minutes of it is, something that can be used, but then it kind of go into, some nothingness after that. But I just want to use the first few minutes, okay, of this video, and make some more points according to the scriptures, man. All right, because it's the scriptures. All these people, because we get information, from these different platforms. Well, these people lack, understanding the narrative according to prophecy. You see, and when you don't understand prophecy, you only know but so much. You can only go so high with understanding what's going on. So they might make a few points, but it's to the prophets that really explain, okay, the bigger picture of everything that's happening according to the will of the Lord. Okay.
Are waiting.
So let's go.
Most people are waiting for a moment, a clear signal, a sentence spoken by the right authority that finally confirms what they already feel deep inside.
Because people can feel the transition. People know that it's different. People can't pinpoint. They couldn't put their finger on what's going on. And that's why we have to be extremely grateful, for understanding in these times. Understanding is precious in these times. Okay. True understanding, the Lord dealing, with his men, that's precious in these times, man. Because people can feel it. People know something is coming. People know the earth ain't the same. They can feel, but they can't pinpoint it. But that's why you have the ministry of the prophets. Okay. And people are not going to appreciate the ministry of the prophets until the famine of the word. Okay. You see, because the prophets have been set up to make sense of the chaos, man. Because the devil, he operates in chaos and confusion. That's when he's able to thrive in his wickedness, when the world is thrown into chaos and confusion, man. Okay, let's play this.
We are waiting for a beginning, but real transitions almost never feel like beginnings. They feel like confusion. They feel like overlap. They feel like a strange period where the old rules still exist, but no longer explain what is happening. History shows this again and again. Empires do not collapse when they are weakest. They collapse when they are most complex, when too many rules are required to keep the illusion alive, when too many intermediaries are needed to preserve trust, when too much energy is spent maintaining narratives instead of reality. This is where we are now. People sense it intuitively. They may not understand finance, they may not follow technology, but they feel that the system no longer speaks truthfully about itself. Debt is no longer temporary, it is permanent. Growth is no longer organic, it is engineered. Stability is no longer real, it is performed. And when a system reaches that stage, it can only survive in two ways: through force or through transformation. Force always announces itself. Transformation does not. Transformation begins quietly, where almost no one is looking. In standards committees, in protocol upgrades, in settlement layers and compliance frameworks that sound boring enough to be ignored. But boring is a disguise, because infrastructure is destiny. Once infrastructure changes, behavior follows automatically. Not because people agree, but because alternatives disappear. This is why the most powerful changes
and going into the change of infrastructure, when you go from, there was a time when everyone didn't need a cell phone, but because of the infrastructure change, okay, and the way business, was being handled, okay, and to keep up with, the fast pace of technology, now everyone had to get a cell phone. Okay, so that's an example of infrastructure changing behavior. Okay, the infrastructure of using these apps to send money back and forth. okay, instead of the old way, Western Union, you know, the money market, okay, MoneyGrams or whatever. Now, you have this fast way of sending money. So there was an infrastructure set up, to begin to transfer money, swiftly, through apps, through the Vimo, the Cash App, the Zelle. Okay, so that the infrastructure change, which would change the behavior. Okay, so now as they're getting ready to, go completely cashless. Okay, and they're changing the infrastructure to make it cashless, where cash is not no longer all right accepted. Where it's going to change what the behavior to people to do what to merge with this machinery. So the devil changes the infrastructure first. Okay, then he begins to what change the behavior. Okay, so this last phase of infrastructure that's being set up is DPI, digital public infrastructure. Okay, and in order to participate, well, you're going to have to change your behavior, okay, and your reasoning when it comes to what merging with his machinery. Okay, and this is what this devil is setting up, this infrastructure. All right, and his last, piece of infrastructure, okay, is this DPI, and whether he can transition fully into this new system with the MOTB. Okay, but in the midst of this, the Lord is going to intervene, okay, and destroy all of it, man. All right, so let's let it play.
Never ask for permission. They simply make the old way impractical. What we are witnessing now is not.
They say they make the old way practical. Okay, new infrastructure makes the old way impractical, man. Okay, so this new infrastructure is going to require people to merge with machinery, and the old way gonna be impractical, man. The old way of doing business, buying and selling, is gonna be impractical because there's a new infrastructure in place now. Okay, so let's play it.
This is why the most powerful changes never ask for permission. They simply make the old way impractical. What we are witnessing now is not a collapse event. It is a replacement process. The old system is not being destroyed. It is being outgrown. And that distinction matters because destruction creates chaos. Replacement creates order. And order, whether people like it or not,
And this is what
exposes truth.
All right, and this is what this devil's format, his formula has been. All right, throughout the years is what order out of chaos. Okay, so this is what this devil he causes the order, by destroying his old way. Okay, I mean he causes the chaos by destroying the old way, and the order is going to be this replacement system. That's his formula. That's what he plans on doing. Okay, but no, the Lord is going to replace all this shit with a righteous system, man. Okay, so that's the point on there. Just wanted to play the first few minutes. All right, so we can get back to some precepts. Okay, because the Lord is getting ready to replace all this, man. Okay, and one thing that we're going to see is confusion. Because, like he was saying, he said, you could tell when they're getting ready to replace, an old system when confusion increases. Okay, because they need everyone confused and distracted while they're in the process of transitioning to this new system. Okay, by the time these devils make the announcement of the MOTB being mandatory, well, the infrastructure is going to be in place to where you're it's going to be very inconvenient not to have it. Okay, and then it's just going to get to a point to where it's going to be punishable by death. All right, so you read Second Ezra 16:21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Okay, so they keep people distracted, with affordable, distractions and entertainment. Okay, so they're going to keep entertainment affordable. They putting a squeeze on people, and people are catching hell, which even that, all right, is a form of distraction, because when all you can think about is surviving, if you're in survival mode, you don't have time to critically think, okay, and put two and two together. You're just always in survival mode, okay? But as long as people have, some type of outlet of cheap entertainment, okay, they can indulge in their lust, they can afford to indulge in their lust, all right? They think that they're in a good case. They're not going to pay attention to this transition that's happening right before them. They're not paying attention to the transition of Esau attempting to transition from, this old world to a new world, and they for damn sure not paying attention to the transition of the Most High from this age of Esau until the age of Yahweh. They definitely not paying attention to that transition. Okay, so they're double loss. It says, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth. So while they're caught up in cheap distractions and you know vain arguments that mean nothing, and entertainment and the flesh, the lust. Okay, there's major moves happening in the earth all around them. Esau is building a digital prison all around these people, man. And ultimately, the Lord is bringing forth prophecy that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. Okay? So they're double lost, man. It said, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Okay? So this transition is going to be brought in through great confusion. The devil, he needs great confusion. Okay? While he transition this thing, man. Okay? But the devil doesn't understand, all right, that he's only going to get so far. Okay? The devil, he's only going to get so far with his agenda. Okay, before the Lord begins to dismantle everything that this man is trying to do. Okay, when you go, is that Job 20? Let's see, might be 21. All right, so let's go here. This is the book of Job, chapter 20, and verse 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency. All right, so when this man is in, the peak of his, his wealth and the peak of his influence. Okay, when he have all this abundance, all right, to his disposal. Okay, he said he shall be in straits, which is the difficulties, man. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, because now there's a lot of backlash. Okay, and there's a lot of bucking up against this new world order. Now you have those simpletons who just they're walking into the trap, but you also have now there's an uprising against this order this devil is trying to bring in. Okay, so you having to deal with the working class and this rebellion okay, against this system he's trying to bring in. Okay, because I think that they've had to backtrack. you know the British tried to go with that digital ID. Okay, they tried to make it mandatory, said you couldn't work. All right, the nigga Steimer, okay, because I believe he's the prime minister of the UK, but he, was boldly saying that, look, if you don't have this, you can't work. Okay, and what happened, man? They they pretty much told him, go f yourself, man. And he had to backtrack on that, man. Okay, let's see. Because there was something else they had to backtrack on too. Let's see. Yep. Let's go here real quick. It was something else them devils backtracked on recently. I think the brother Eliasha Wamba, he posted on his community on YouTube. Um, so let's go here. I said, did Britain have to backtrack on digital ID? He said, yes, the UK government backtracked on plans to make new centralized digital ID mandatory for proving the right to work, following intense backlash, including a potentially with nearly 3 million signatures. The requirement to sign up for this specific new system was dropped in January 2026, making it optional rather than compulsory. Okay, so they had to backtrack. All right, so as he's, like I say, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. So he's having a hard time trying to really pull this thing off because the digital ID, that's what's going to onboard people to the system. Because once you get a digital ID, the next phase is the C hip. Okay, but the Lord might guide him to where this nigga might have to go straight to the C hip. Okay, and he's gonna have to do it with more force. He's gonna have to bring in, all right, he's gonna have to bring in more crisis and black swan events to really, all right, make people comply. Okay, so yeah, like the scriptures say, all right, 3 million signatures, man. This is the wicked Amal, because you go into the word wicked Amal in the Hebrew, which we'll get it. Well, it was something else them devils, backtracked on, man. The brothers, can look it up and put it in. It's something else them niggas had to backtrack on because, all right, they wasn't getting the compliance they thought. Okay, but I remember that one for sure dealing with UK. Those digital IDs, nigga had to backpedal, man. Okay, but when you go here in Joel 20 and 22, let's get this word the wicked. All right, because it's in the Hebrew it's Amal. All right, Amal in the Hebrew, and it goes into what? Okay, it says a laborer. Okay, a sufferer, workman. Okay, because the old petition was what from working class. Okay, which and then you got Jake. Um, certain Jake. That's bucking up. Okay, but mainly you see that working class. All right, they had that 3 million signature petition. You best believe that was from the labor, the working class, man. Okay, so he's dealing with this non-compliance. All right, from the working class. Okay, he's dealing with these nations. Okay, all these different wars and conflicts. Which this devil, he's behind the scenes pushing these things. But see, he's not going to be able to control this world's war. It's going to get out of his hand. It's going to get beyond his control. He's not going to be able to manage this third world's war. Okay, this third world's war is going to usher in his destruction and the true replacement from the Heavenly Father, man. Okay, Joel 20:23, which is going to be via Yahweh Shai. It said, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast fury. All right, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain upon him while he is eating, man. So while this man is in the progress of establishing his new world order, getting the system ready to be operational fully, okay, getting people on board with the C hip and this technology, okay, the Lord is going to intervene. Okay, he said he shall flee from the iron weapon. These elites are going to flee, okay, into their bunkers and their space station, underground cities. Okay, and the bolt of steel shall strike him through. Okay, but these missiles are going to destroy all this infrastructure that the devil has built up. Okay, these missiles, the chariots, they're going to be destroying all this infrastructure that the devil, okay, has built up, man, over the centuries, man. And over these last few decades with all this AI and data centers, all this going to be destroyed, man. Because all these things harm the earth, man. Okay? So let's go, because the Lord is going to, let's go to Psalms, the second chapter. Okay? Matter of fact, we'll end it there. Let's end it there, but let's get this one. Because what was happening, is the devil is on the way down. The Lord has us on the way up. Okay? He's putting us together right before their eyes, man. All right, so this is 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 7 said, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah make it poor and make it rich. He bring it low and lift it up. Okay, so we're finna see Esau Edom, okay, in this age, along with the rest of these heathens brought low. All right, they're finna be brought into captivity. Okay, and we're finna see the elect of Israel lifted up, beginning with, all right, the first fruit. Okay, which is going to be what the governing body of a righteous kingdom, the kingdom that's finna get the kingdom, the government that's finna replace this government, this beast system, man. The house of David is finna replace the beast system. That's what we're getting ready to witness, man. All right, 1 Samuel 2 and 8. He raises up the poor out of the dust, and dust is confusion. So the Lord raising up the ministry of the prophets was him raising his people, the remnant of his people, out of the dust, out of confusion. Okay, and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them, man. Okay, so his sons are getting ready to inherit thrones of glory, okay, which is world dominion in the earth, man. All right, and we're going to have the immortality, okay, and it's going to be a righteous government that's going to rule the earth forever, man. Okay, it says he will keep the feet of his saints, which he's going to establish us, man, because our foundation is Yahweh Shah and what he's getting ready to bring, man, and that's unmovable. Anything that's rooted in Yahweh Shah is unmovable, man. Everything else from the move, okay, everything else is going to be turned to powder, okay, but it's going to be the government of Yahweh Shah that's going to stand, and that's what we're rooted in. The saints, all right, the elect of Israel is rooted in the foundation of Yahweh Shah. It says, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. So Esau, the wicked, okay, he's going to become irrelevant, okay, and through the power that the Lord gave him, he's not going to prevail with it. The Most High gave Esau this power to fulfill the purpose, man, and to show that he is. Okay, Esau was just a a glorified punching bag. Okay, for the Most High to show his power. He's finna hit that punching bag with their right hand, which is Yahweh Shah. Okay, and explode the bag. Okay, that's what's finna happen. Verse 10, it said, the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken into pieces, and that begins with Esau. Okay, and Esau has turned these heathens into adversaries of the Most High by drinking down their wine of rebellion, following this nigga, man. It said, out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give, all right, strength unto his king, okay, and exalt the horn of his anointed, man. Okay, so the Most High, he's finna to exalt the horn of his anointed, the power of his anointed, which is Yahweh Shah. He's finna give strength to his king, Yahweh Shah. Okay, that's the true replacement, man. And this is all over the Bible. This is all over the Bible about the Lord getting ready to replace, this wicked kingdom with a righteous kingdom. Okay, Psalms 2 and 1, it says, let me get this in the NLT. Okay, Psalms 2 and 1, it says, why are the nations so angry? Why do they waste their time with their futile plans? Okay, so everything that Esau doing is futile, is irrelevant, is pointless. Okay, because Yahweh Bashim Shah is about to replace the whole thing. Okay, Esau replacement agenda is not going to hold up. Okay, you see, our power is going to do away with it all. Okay, it said the kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord and against his anointed one. And Esau has all these nations in cahoots with him in this rebellion. Because this new world order agenda is a plot to undermine, all right, the Heavenly Father and His Son. Okay, and he thinks that he's on to something with this technology, especially his AI. Okay, he think he's found, all right, some type of advantage, like he found some type of breakthrough that gives him, the ups, that gives him the ups on his agenda against the Most High. Oh, so like him. It said, but the one who rules in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Okay, this is a joke to the Most High what Esau was trying to pull off, man, because the Lord knows what He wants to do, and He set Esau up, to do what he's doing, and Esau really thinks that he's going off script and doing something cute. Okay, but he just playing into the will of the Lord for the Lord to show His power, man. Like I say, Esau just a glorified punching bag, man. Okay, and the Lord finna let off on this nigga, man. This is on Psalms 2 and 5. Then in anger, He rebukes them, terrifying them with His fierce fury, okay, which is going to be World War III and Yahushua and the angels, man. For the Lord declares, I have placed my chosen king on the throne in Jerusalem on my holy mountain. So this is their replacement, which is Yahushua, okay, is getting ready to replace, okay, this wicked government with a righteous government. Okay, and it's going to be Yahushua and the first fruits, man. And the rest of the men, women, and children of Israel, of the elect, are going to be part of what their ruling family. Okay, that's going to govern the earth in righteousness forever, man. And even the 2/3 are going to come back in their right mind, all right, through their remnant. They're saved, man. Okay, so yeah, you Edomites are done, man. All right, you're getting ready to be replaced. Okay, and the Heavenly Father is going to show His power, all right, replacing your dumb ass, man, for trying to do this, man. Okay, you Edomites, you're going to be a running joke in the kingdom, all right, for what you tried to do in the end. Okay. You see, so Lord will you brothers and you sisters edify to the next time I say Shalom, Kwame Yashala, Abba, soon, Shalom.